Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the courtroom. Court is in session, and today we have a very special courtroom edition. The two rivals on this podcast, the two brothers on this podcast, John and Matt, will be going head to head against one another. And we're going to be talking about something cool that they're implementing this year. They started it last year a little bit and kind of are perfecting it this year. So this year they're having the play-in tournament for the playoffs. The last four seeds, the 7 through 10, are going to play in the tournament beforehand to determine who the actual two last seeds are in the playoffs are going to be. And we have, I think, John representing the antagonist side of things, while we have Matt representing supporting this argument of this play-in tournament. So, gentlemen, you'll each get, I think it's 90 seconds we have, or is it a minute? I don't remember.
I'll give them 2 minutes. All right.
2 minutes. Okay.
All right.
Sam, or you are
I'm the bailiff here. Don't talk to me if I beat you up.
Oh, God.
Can we also make this the clickbait title of Logan Paul versus Jake Paul at this point? Like, can we do that? Are we allowed to do that? Can we just Photoshop them real quick into this? You got this, right? You got this. Okay, cool. All right. I don't know who said is going first, but I'm starting now.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm not starting now.
You'll have 2 minutes, and then I'll each ask you a question about a rebuttal, and I think you'll have a minute to answer that each. But let's start with Matt, seeing as the playoffs are actually going to have this playoff tournament, and you are arguing for this. So you are welcome to go first.
All right. So I think the biggest thing that I like about this is the competition, right? So having basketball be an extremely competitive sport, trying to outshine football and other sports such as that are in the major leagues right now, having a play-in tournament just makes it much more entertaining. Fuck you, John. I think I know we keep referencing this, but a few years back or something like that, we had that game with Minnesota and the Nuggets that was just absolutely insane. Literally, whoever wins that game is going to the playoffs. I love having that hype. I love having that competition. And also, just like one of the biggest things for me is, let's just look at the West, because the East is just absolute ass. If we have two teams that are actually very, very solid teams that aren't in that 7th and 8th seed position going against the two that have already been seeded there, I mean, whether or not these two hypothetical teams actually outshine the two that are in there already, I think that's huge. I think that's really fun to watch, and I think that's extremely entertaining. Give me all the entertainment. The NBA, I think, is making great moves doing this. So, go team.
Okay, excellent points. John, you also have your 2 minutes to argue your side against this playoff tournament.
Okay, so clearly this is a conspiracy by Big Zion to get the Pelicans into the playoffs. And look, fine, whatever. Maybe it'll be fun in the Western Conference. But did you know that there's an Eastern Conference?
No.
Did you know there's an Eastern Conference where this season the play-in games would have taken place between the Brooklyn Nets and the Washington Wizards and the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets, okay? These games would have been garbage, and it would have been a disaster to watch a 25-win team try to sneak into the playoffs. It would have been embarrassing. We don't want to see the Bucks playing against the fucking Bulls next year in the goddamn playoffs. It'll be a disaster, okay? This is why I'm a proponent of something more like a mid-season tournament where these shitty teams can shine and there's no real consequences to the actual important product, which is the playoffs. We don't want these terrible teams sneaking into the playoffs. We want a good product there because we know it can be a little slow in the first round. Let's get good matchups in there, baby. And also, as a Bulls fan, I don't want them to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be the 10 seed this year. And that's the last thing that needs to happen in this draft coming up is that they fall out of the freaking lottery. okay, we don't need to have 2/3 of the league having an opportunity to make their way into the playoffs. It was fine with the 8 seed, and it was cool when the Nuggets and the Timberwolves had that play-in game. That was fun. It was an anomaly, but they're not always going to go that way. And we're going to see teams where like some injured leader on the team is going to get hurt right before the playoffs, and they're going to get knocked out by the fucking Pistons. And this is just not. It's not what we want, people. It's not what we want, folks. We are opposed, in opposition entirely. Rest my case.
Okay. Again, both good arguments from both sides. Lots to think about. Matt, I'll ask you a question first. Somewhat to John's point, actually, that he made towards the end. Do you think this actually could hurt teams having a play-in tournament like that? Like, for example, like if the Chicago Bulls got in with less than 25 wins, they got into this playoff tournament, and then they lost their lottery spot or something like that. Do you think this would actually hurt teams in the long run, or are you not as concerned about that?
I'm not really as concerned about it. I mean, obviously, as a Bulls fan, I do not want the Bulls anywhere near the playoffs until they are actually a solid team. But the thing that I have with this is essentially that there are a lot of not like big market teams out there that a lot of people just don't care to watch for anymore. Like the Washington Wizards kind of fell out. Charlotte Hornets obviously are not good, but having this having these low tier teams fight for the playoffs, I think that makes it more entertaining. I think that gives them more playoff time to actually watch them in a competitive sort that isn't the season. And I think if teams really wanted to get that good draft pick, then they would just kind of like, slide on the table and just not try to win at all. Like, that's a very big possibility. If you're playing, and I don't know, I'm sure that other teams will figure it out. And you don't have to watch the bad teams duke it out. You really don't have to. And chances are you're probably not going to watch the bad teams duke it out. You're going to watch the good teams fight. And I am all for that, clearly.
So what I'm hearing from this is Matt is pro tanking. He's asking the Bulls to just throw every game so that they can tank for a draft pick. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Let me just really quickly, if that wasn't clear enough, I feel like I wasn't clear when I said that. So just give me a minute. Bulls, please tank. Yes. tank.
Okay.
So if that wasn't clear, I hope that made it clear.
Judge O'Brien.
Now to John, I think this could be interesting. I think what would you say to having a play-in tournament, but having it still be having there be stipulations based on records? So maybe you could only participate in the tournament if you are within 5 games of the 8th seed or something like that.
Sure. I mean, maybe that would be nice. Unfortunately, the NBA did not decide to do that this year, as far as I know. And it seemed like they did in the bubble. They didn't have the Wizards, I believe, play for that play-in spot because, face it, it would have been stupid. It would have been dumb. It would have been a waste of time. I think that, like, sure, that'd be fine. But at that point, then why are we even doing this play-in game at all if there's going to be a clear, like, if we say, like, okay, yeah, the 8 seed is in, like, it doesn't matter then. Like, the fun, I guess, like, it's supposed to be like, hey, we're going to give this team that maybe is kind of clinging to something. It's really, they invented this for the Western Conference. This is not a tournament for the Eastern Conference. It is something that only really affects one half of the league. And sure, it might be fun, but I also don't particularly think it makes a whole lot of sense to, like, have worse teams get into the playoffs because it just makes that product worse. Like, it might be fun for, like, a couple games, but it's also, like, it was cool seeing, like, Portland sneak in this year. Sure. Then they got absolutely fucking dusted in the playoffs. They got absolutely slaughtered in the playoffs. I think that, like, look, I understand the league wants to make things more fun. They're trying to get the ratings back up. But look, if you want to make things more fun, make sure that good teams are in the playoffs. Encourage teams to win basketball games. How about that? If you want them to be fun in the playoffs, tell them they should maybe win more basketball games. I think that there's a structure there for a reason. We don't need to add potentially 4 more teams across the league. I think that means now 20 teams are playoff eligible. That's insane. Where do we draw the line?
Okay, well, very valid points. I think on both sides, you got a lot of good arguments. Hoodie John over here versus Matthew. Vote on our Instagram on who.
Hold up, Mr. Judge O'Brien. I want to set up a little spicy around here. I want my questions too. All right, am I part of this podcast? God damn it!
No, you're not.
If you don't mind me, Judge, I'd like to pose a few questions and maybe put them on pressure here. So I'll start with I was gonna say Mr. Murphy, but it'll be very awkward. So I'll start with Mr. Matt. Mr. Matt. What is a mechanism that you could use to incentivize these quote unquote bad teams to really pursue for like a low seed to compete?
I'd probably say anything that has to do with the draft, because obviously the whole point of tanking, and I guess tanking is to get that good draft spot. And if you want to incentivize teams to actually get that good draft spot, actually put that as a prize, right? Like if you're one of the teams to actually make the playoffs, to be an exemplary team, to actually like do well and to be fun to watch, work your hardest to actually get that good draft spot. Like, and it doesn't even need to be like, because the way that I'm saying that makes it sound like if you do bad, then you don't deserve a good draft spot, which isn't what I'm trying to get at. I'm more so saying like teams that try and shoot for the playoffs, shoot for this this in round, robin round, or whatever you want to call it, form of playoffs. They could give them a lottery spot. Like if you do well enough, you could just get a better draft spot or something along those lines, because that's what those low seed teams want. They want a better draft spot. So if you can get teams to play their hardest and for that kind of prize, I think that'd probably be the best option.
Okay. Team PBS Kids, I feel you. Everyone should win. Everyone gets their participation trophy. I see you. But to Mr. Hoodie Mellow here, my question to you is, how do you think that your current playoff format helps smaller market teams who are unable to attract larger talent just because they are inherently a small market? For example, my San Antonio Spurs will never attract anyone and have to be very lucky to participate in this draft. And what incentive is there at that point?
Look, tank. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's just how it's done. When you're a small market, unfortunately, you have to kind of suck to get good players, and it works out. The Grizzlies got Ja Morant. The Pelicans got Zion Williamson after getting Anthony Davis. Like, it works out. If you want to tank and you want to get a good player and you're in a small market, sometimes you just got to say, hey, look, like, no one's coming to our games anyway. Who cares what we put on the floor? Like, let's just get a fucking star. And that's just how you're going to do it. Unfortunately, that's just the case. And some teams don't have the stomach for that. I get it. But look, if you're the 10 seed, again, in the Eastern Conference, you're not trying to make the playoffs. Like, you're already probably like 10 games out of the playoffs. Like you're playing for a different prize at that point. You're saying, oh, shit, I would like Cade Cunningham to be my point guard next year. That's what you're playing for. Okay, that's the prize. I don't want to get in the playoffs, get a 4-game sweep where I lose by 20 points a game, and Giannis is playing fucking 25 minutes against me, embarrassing me. I don't want that. Look, what I want to see is that fun time of the year when teams like really give up, and you saw like that one year when Portland played like 6 guys the last like 2 games of the year, and Anthony Simons was getting like 30 points both of those games. And like they had like a rotation of just scrubs running out there. That's what I want to see. I want to see that stupid bullshit at the end of the year that teams love running out because they're trying to get a goddamn star. That's what you got to do. You're not going to win in this league if you're not getting stars. That's the name of the game. It's unfortunate. It stacks the cards against small market teams, but that's the hand they have to play with. That's it.
Okay.
Judge, I think I just already have to choose Matt because Hoodie Mello was very mean to me in this. I gotta ask Judge, who did you think? Who did you think in this debate overall?
I don't know. I think, going into it, I was a little biased, leaning towards Matt, but I think John made some good points. Hoodie John did make some compelling arguments against the play-in tournaments. I was kind of impressed. I don't know. It's tough.
Okay, I see you. I'm a little bit on the fence, and not just purely on the rudeness. Matt, the question I was trying to hit on, as much as I like the draft, I think the revenue stream was a big point for me. If you got the money, that's going to be a big thing, right? Because you don't even have these teams like Atlanta, who hasn't played in almost 6 months now. It's like they're not getting any money, and now they just built a whole team with no money going in, and they're probably not going to have fans at this point. But I'm on the fence though, and now to include my feelings, Hoodie John was kind of rude to me, with my small market team. So, Judge, take it away.
Okay, well, a lot of good arguments on both sides. I think some rudeness to our judges, but we'll move past it. But still, it's up to the audience to vote on this. So vote for Hoodie John or Matthew on anti-tournament or pro play-in tournament. But yeah, we'd love to get all your votes, and you are the deciding factor on who moves forward in this courtroom argument tournament thing we have created.
Get me to that jersey, baby. I want the jersey. Get me to the jersey, fans.
Hey, look, even if you win, I'll see you next week, homie. I'll see you next week.
Oh, threats.
All
All right.
Have a good night, guys.